What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. There's a lot of news going on in the world right now, but I want to dive in on the escalating tensions in the Middle East, with the latest being around President Trump and the White House starting to issue evacuation orders for some of the embassy staff in the Middle East, primarily in Iraq, amid these escalating tensions between Israel and Iran. So, the background of this is President Trump is really trying to work out a nuclear deal with Iran. And Israel has really done what it could to stop this from basically happening. It's no surprise Israel and Iran has a lot of tension, and Israel claims Iran is an existential threat. This is to be debated. I think for numerous reasons, Iran can't be trusted, and I don't even know what Iran's true geopolitical aims are. And that's because when I look at Iran's rhetoric versus its actions, I'm not really seeing alignment. Iran didn't fully back Bashar al Assad. There was really no full commitment to the survival of his regime when Bashar al Assad lost Syria and he had to fled. Even then, Bashar al Assad, being a part of the Alawites and being part of that Shiite arc, he found refuge in Russia, not in Iran. And I constantly harp on this, and I have videos in the past about this. I really think Iran has been done a disservice by its current leadership. I'm a big proponent and admirer of the former the Shah of Iran, who was overthrown, the pretty much the leader, the monarch of the country, who was overthrown by the current theocracy that's in charge right now. And since the Shah was overthrown, Shah Pahlavi, the current theocracy, the greatest threat that they have garnered has been to their own people. The current theocratic leadership of Iran have hamstrung the highly capable people of Iran, along with their immense mineral resources. Iran could be one of the great countries in the world, but because of its current regime and a pariah state that it is, because of extremist rhetoric, antagonistic global politics, it has basically been sequestered. Iran has been sequestered outside the global economy. It has suffered disproportionately economically. During COVID, it suffered disproportionately as well. This is a country with vast and immense potential, which I think we're slowly being realized. And blatantly, I think since the Ayatollahs take over, Iran has drastically been an underperformer. And the power vacuum that it should have rightfully filled has gone to countries such as the Gulf states, maybe Pakistan, and definitely Turkey. So Iranian leadership does its greatest disservice to its own people. But on top of that, it's probably one of the greatest arguments for a muscular Israel in the Middle East, because Israel can say we have a country in Iran which is constantly calling us the devil. They want to wipe us off the face of the map, give us more weapons. And this is their moral argument to make. So you have a situation where you have this antagonistic Iran, you have this ancient Israel. Israel is becoming more and more under pressure. Some of its old allies, such as UK, Canada, New Zealand, France, they're starting to put more pressure. They're starting to put out visa bans and restrictions on some of the major figures of the current, what they would call extremist right wing coalition in charge of the country right now, other than Netanyahu, such as restrictions on Ben Gvir, the firestorm politician that he is. But you're starting to see Israel not being able, after years and years and thousands upon tens of thousands of deaths in Gaza, Israel not getting the benefit of the doubt they usually get. Um, President Trump seems almost caught in the middle. He just had this amazing, successful golf trip where he passed Israel, and he went to the Arab states. He went to the Sunni Gulf states. He went to Saudi Arabia. He went to UAE. He went to Qatar. Then he came back home. And you know that Israel took that a certain way. So you have a situation where you have Israel looking to push its geopolitical gains and an evolving environment where they're given less and less leeway to act out on these muscular military forays that they're so used to doing. And let's not forget, Prime Minister Netanyahu, being one of the most successful politicians in the history of the state, he really was under a lot of criminal investigations in his ascent to become in his current leadership. So there's going to be a contention, or there's going to be a certain section of his current demographics of Israel that's not backing him anyway. So he's probably trying to solidify support under an umbrella that he's being the gatekeeper or the protector of Israel. So he has to go above and beyond. Plus his coalition, the only way he was able to achieve power was to make amends with the extreme right-wing parts of the political arena in Israel to build his coalition. So you got all of these things coming together, and it's really making this nasty soup that somebody's going to have to eat. Now, with this Iran situation, I've always been on the fence about it because there's so much hoopla. And I think if these countries and their leadership really felt the way that they project, it wouldn't be so much warning. It's constantly warning. It's constantly, or why I oughta, or I'm about to. It's constant this conversation. Israel's about to attack Iran. Iran is about to attack Israel. America's threatening war with Iran. It's always this. And I think a lot of this, reason why they're doing this, because I'm not even sure that these countries really want to squabble with each other. And I think they're doing this for political reasons. I can be corrected, but I think they're doing it for political reasons. A lot of them is for domestic audiences, right? I think President Trump, he probably has these allegiances to his Israeli backing and constituents, so he don't want to seem soft on Iran. But I also think he is one thing President Trump has shown is like he's really not into the neocon wars. He's not really into getting bogged down. I don't think he wants to commit American troops to a country like Iran, which is very large, treacherous terrain, and it would be very difficult logistically to carry out a successful war there. Iran is not Iraq. And even with Iraq, look at Iraq. That's still what I consider one of the great foreign policy foul-ups of American history. I can't think of a more horrendous foreign policy action than the invasion of Iraq, strategically speaking. And so it basically left a weakened chasm in the Middle East, and Iraq sits between Israel and Iran. And I don't think that's any coincidence. So I don't think Trump wants to fight Iran. I don't think the Ayatollahs want war, because all they can do is risk. They can risk a foreign war, and who knows what happened. Don't forget the Tsar, the Romanov family, failed during World War I. When you have a war and your domestic, not only you have to worry about the domestic pressures, the international pressures from countries trying to fight you and bomb you, but now Iran will have to deal with its domestic situation. And how many revolutions or street protests have Iran had where they had to come down in a very heavy-handed way? So I think this is a government or an oligarchy that is very nervous about its actual standing within the country. So if they were to have a war, not only do they have to worry about fighting nuclear powers, whether that be the U.S. or Israel, but it would be a serious threat to the regime because, one, they could lose the war down and outright and be overthrown, but they also risk domestic political pressure as the effects of war take place, such as a famine, economic. They're already suffering through being ostracized in a global economic arena. So it's a lot of pressure, I think, on Iran not to want war. And as I said, Iranian leadership is technically feckless. And if you can see what happened with the Bashar al-Assad, President al-Assad of Syria, and how they were able to do nothing about that. They were able to do nothing about Azerbaijan and Nagorno-Karabakh with Armenia, where they were supporting Armenia. You can make the argument with Yemen, but as far as the Houthis and the Saudis, but the Saudis kind of raised their hands and they said, well, we'll let the Yemenis deal with the Yemenis because they thought the Yemenis wasn't a real threat. And the Yemenis, since then, have done nothing but wasted time throwing rockets in the air at a much more technologically superior force in Israel. So I would argue, what has Iran really pushed on a global scale or international scale that was successful, outside of giving Russia some pretty good drones at a fair price? And then lastly, you have Israel, and I don't think Israel wants this war. I think Israel is on its last leg, but at the same time, when you have a country like Israel, you have to wonder: are you dealing with rational state actors, especially when you're dealing with this extremist party? Because these are the extreme right wing fringes of the countries in charge right now. And I actually think Israel is getting very, very paranoid about losing its influence that it has in the West, that has sustained it over such a long period of time. So I just think there's so much room at the negotiating table that all this stuff is going to die down. Nevertheless, oil prices are going up, embassies are being evacuated, and troops are put in at the readiness. So I think this is the evolving situation. Love to hear your thoughts and comment below if you have any insight. Also, like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.